Well, good morning.
Good morning.
So we are going to examine. Can everyone hear me? Okay. We are going to take a look at how you can research your ancestor using entirely archival materials. This is the Colby Select School. When I started at the archives, there were all these photos on the computer. I have no idea where they came from, but I thought, well, who is this Julia Colby? There she is in her lily garden. So I Googled her, and all I found was that she was a teacher, had her own school in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and that she was a widow and had at some point in her life had a son. And that was all I found out about her. So this presentation came about last year for the Ozarks Genealogical Society. They wanted me to give a presentation on what we have at the archives and how it can be used to trace your ancestors. So I picked Julia. In the first place we start, the easiest place are the city directories. We have a wide range of them, 1902 to 2009. We also have an 1878, 1880. They're not exactly city directories, but they are directories. They're a little harder to use, but they are useful. So this is the first place we start. We can use these to search addresses. In the back of the book, you can search by address, and then of course you can search businesses and people. So what did I find out about Julia in the city directories? In 1906, she was a school teacher, lived on, let's see, 459 South Grand, maybe? Thank you. 1902, she was Julia A.H. Covey, Colby lived at the same place. And this was located where the current South Side Baptist Church is, on the corner of Grant and Elm. 1905, now she's a widow to John C.S., and she's the principal at Colby Select School. The last mention of this school was in the 1909 city directory. 1912, now she's the widow of Spencer. 1916, she's the widow of John S. Still living at the same place. Still living at the same place. 1920, she's the widow of J.C. She was a busy school teacher. 26 and 27, she was living in the Mary E. Wilson home, which still exists. It's right over here on Main Street. So that's what I found out about Julia in the city directories. Circuit court records. This is by far our largest collection. Anytime someone asks for information on anyone, one of the places we automatically look is circuit court records, not just for criminal cases, but for civil, name changes. Could be any number of things so we could find in circuit court cases. We have about 11,000 cubic feet of circuit court cases. That includes circuit, associate, and juvenile. So I just said all that. This was primarily for the benefit of OGS. You probably already know all of this. Divorces, depending on the divorce date, everything except the final decree is closed going back 72 years. And I think the current date for when the entire case is open would now be 1952 or older. So what I found out about Julia, she married J.C.S. Colby in 1860 in Dallas County. She divorced him in January of 1867. Julia was not a widow. She claimed that he abandoned her. He admitted to this. There were no children at the time of divorce. At the time of the divorce, as far as I know, they never had any children. So not only was she not a widow, she had no children. It was not uncommon for women during this period to say they were widows when they were in fact divorced. And her next friend was her father, Eleazar Hovey. He was a landowner in town. And I don't know why she had a next friend. If you were a minor getting a divorce, or I think any kind of court case, you had to have a next friend, but Julia was not a minor at this point. So she did not have 5 husbands. They were all the same person. Because I started searching for him in the court cases. He was charged with gambling in the 1870s after their divorce. His full name was John Calhoun Spencer Colby. So the Spencer, the JC, all of that, it was all the same person. But it sounded better, you know, when she had all those different husbands. Her father was involved in several civil cases in the area, including a building over at Boonville and Calhoun. So you can learn a lot from court records. Typically, divorces will tell you the date the couple got married, the location they got married, the names of children. So this can place your relative at a particular location in time, as can any court case. If you have any questions, just jump in. And I totally cannot see that. Probate. This is Julia's will. She left almost everything to the Mary E. Wilson home, her wheelchair, her bedding. She didn't have any property at this point. Yeah, I'll let you read that. I cannot see it. Clock? Ooh. Okay. Too far. Am I aiming in the right direction? Thank you. Go back. One more. Too far. Okay. So this is our second largest collection, just over 1,000 cubic feet, and we continue to receive these records, whereas with circuit court, we don't receive anything anymore other than like drug court. Okay, so that. She didn't have much cash, but they did find $20 stashed under her pillow, another $20 in a box in the closet. She had a little bit of money in the bank. So that was the extent of her estate at this time in her life. That's a lot of money back. Probate records can be a wealth of information. Typically, they have inventories, which basically this is the inventory of her estate. We're more wealthy, you could have an extensive estate. There would be relatives' names in these. Of course, she had no relatives at this point, but this is how you find out additional family members. And anyone who was actually involved in her life, like the administrator, that could have been a relative, family friend. We have medical records from 1834 to 2019. The documents are sparse in the older years. Find anything for Julia? That's which is really uncommon for a natural death. There are natural deaths in there, but not everyone had one. I can't compete with that. We also have books. These list not only the cause of death, but if there was an inquest, it will list the judge's names. And of course, the outcome of the inquest. Tax books. These are a wealth of information. The older ones list slaves, horses, cattle, mules, the value of all of those. So we can find out who was the richest landowner, who had the most slaves in the county. In the early days, people were taxed on pleasure carriages, clocks, and watches. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah. You didn't hear that.
You better hide those pleasure carriages.
Bouncing their heads, right?
So this is what they look like. At the top, you have the list: slaves, horses, cows, mules, the value, the quantity they had of each one. Of course, at the time of her death, Julia did not own any property. But in the older tax books, she lived in McClure's edition, lot 7. It was worth $50 in 1880. I think Meinhardt's edition was carved out of McClure's, because this is where her house was and her school. So that is all from the tax books. And sometimes I have questions about these editions, and I call the assessor's office, like, what is going on here? And we found some interesting things, haven't we? Recorder's indexes. We have the recorder's deed books, hundreds of them, I think. These are available to use. We are not allowed to let anyone take pictures or copy them. Anything like that, you have to go to the recorder for. But she bought this lot of her own from Frederick Weaver and his wife in 1878. In a few years, she had her house there, and then before long, she had opened it. Voter registration books. We've only got one that's been transcribed. It will eventually be online. I would like to get more of these transcribed and make them searchable, because this would be a great way to pinpoint a relative and where they lived in Springfield. And in the county, we have tons of these books. And it's really interesting, the transition in 1919, 1920, 1921, when women were granted the right to vote. And they started registering. Naturalization records. Charles Schultz. Not that one. Declared his intention to become a citizen of the United States instead of a subject of the Emperor of Germany. So this is another treasure that can help you find your relative. County court books. These go back to when the county was formed, and they describe in detail how the county was set up. Peter Apperson sold a certain town lot in the town of Ozark in Greene County. At this time, Greene County comprised the majority of Southwest Missouri. The assessor's photos. These came over years ago. I don't know who the assessor was back then, but anyway, these were going to be thrown away. And the assessor called my predecessor, Robert, and he said, don't you dare bring them over. So we have them. They are currently being scanned, digitized by the Library Center, and probably sometime in May, what they have done so far will be available on their website. Yes, they're going to have this massive home and building research site on their website, and this will be part of it. And possibly eventually even our old information sheets.
Yes. Yeah.
If the powers that be are agreeable to that. Well, yes. We have all kinds of books. This is one of my favorites: marriage certificates and embalmer's licenses. Because why wouldn't you? So did your relative get married here? Did they have an embalmer's license? Has everyone heard of Lohmeyer's Funeral Home? Here's his embalmer's license. This is what we have available online. We have school records, immigration. This is an extensive database. Blind pensions. We have a list of buyers of and sellers in Greene County from 1833 to 1877. This is used extensively. The probate index. We are having that taken down. Well, not the index. Well, yeah. The images that are currently on the website, if they haven't been removed, they will be, because we are redoing that project and we have someone supposed to be getting started uploading the new scans because they are much better quality. We also have our historic court cases on there, like Hickok, Millie Sawyer's, the Nat Kinney murder trial, the 1906 lynching. Those are all available online. We get email and phone requests for these regularly. So now it's nice to just say, right there it is. And don't forget. And that is it. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
So if you were going to go over and search through court records and so forth, are you just going to a big box with a bunch of papers, or how do you do those searches? How are these working?
We will get the name. We have two databases. We have one for pre-1900 and one for post-1900. We would first search that. 99.9% of the 1900 records are digitized in some form, whether with us or with CARI, Circuit Court. Pre-1900s, we are still working on those. We have probably 13,000 cases in our database so far, which is a lot, but it is nowhere near in the building. But the ones that aren't in that database, we still have an index we can look at, which we have digitized. We no longer have to drag those books out and search for them line by line. We can search in that. That will tell us a case number and a box number, and we can go to that box and find it.
Do you allow citizens to come in and search, or do our employees?
Yeah, we will do the search.
Oh.
Yes. Mhm.
I have a question. Where does the majority of your funding come from? And is
Wayne
that
County.
for the county?
Yes.
So are there any opportunities for grants or outside money?
Yes, we actually got a grant for our alarm system last year. We do have the Green County Archives Foundation, who has bought us a scanner, a table scanner, and a portable scanner, which has been absolutely wonderful. And they are currently buying us or getting us made a new bookshelf. So yes, that is another source of funding for the archives for things like, you know, an extra scanner or a nice bookshelf that we would not ask the county to pay for.
That 11,000 square feet or whatever that person was, how much of that is digitized? Any of that?
Yeah,
And
Circuit
there
Court is
other-
in that process
Are
right
there any
now.
plans to do so?
Yes. Yes, CARI and her team are working on that. It will be a very long process. Yes. And we do have older ones that are digitized. We have Image View, which is, I think, from 45 up to part of 79.
Charge citizens for this service we provide.
We charge 10 cents a copy. And then if someone wants us to do research, the first half hour is free. And then it's $15 an hour after that, which doesn't come to the archives. It goes to the general fund.
Can you tell us a little bit about your volunteers and what they do?
We have 2 volunteers right now, Steve and Amy. They are former employees. Steve retired a couple of years ago. He comes in half a day every week and works on transcribing some of our records so we can get those online. Amy retired in November and she has just started coming back, and she has a project with microfiche land records. There's no good way to search those, and so she's working on figuring out how to make those more user-friendly. So those are our current 2 volunteers.
Adoption records.
We do have adoption records. They are closed. If we do occasionally get requests, and we refer them to the juvenile department. All juvenile records are closed, so any of them we refer to the juvenile department. Most of our records are open, but those are not. Yes. We have a security system that we got last year, and we have a fire suppression system also that we got last year, thanks to an ARPA grant from the county and Cheryl. That's how that was paid for. Yes. Mhm. Yes, we have students come in, we have genealogists, professors, we have people, we have students call from long distance wanting records for a research project. We have people come in needing their divorces. We have someone from Circuit who handles the more recent ones, like from 1946 to the present, and then we handle the older ones. Those are primarily genealogy related. Title companies come in and use the deed books. The city comes in, uses the deed books and road petitions. We do also store city records, and those are fascinating as well.
Have you seen an uptick in requests from true crime writers and podcasters for old court cases in recent years?
There's a name for the Hickok case. We have had occasionally people interested in, let's see, Sonny, I can't remember his last name. That was a murder case from the 80s, I think. But constantly, what's her name? Gypsy Blanchard. Regular requests for that, which is super regular, which circuit court handles, that being a more recent case. Yes.
We had a lot of feelings.
Yes, John Feeney, which that is closed because he was acquitted. If they're acquitted, you don't get to see the case. Yes.
Run into issues when you're trying to transcribe things, being able to read the writing. I'm sure you guys are like trained in it.
We're used to it. Sometimes I do still get out my little magnifying light glass. And if I can't figure it out, then you just have to put in there illegible. We've got a new person and he's learning that skill. It does take a while. You get used to how one clerk writes, how they make their letters, and then you go along really good. And then all of a sudden there's a new clerk and you have to learn their ways.
How long did your research take on your school teacher?
Sure. It wasn't a long time. It doesn't take that long to go through the city directories. And of course, I knew when she died, which was January 5th, 1929. She was 91 years old, which I got that from Find a Grave, so it wasn't source. So I knew there was a short range of years in the city directories when I needed to look, as well as it didn't take a long time. Some things take longer, like house histories. If you come in with your current address, we will first go to our Sanborn map and determine what your house's address was prior to 1948, because the majority of them in Springfield changed. And then we can start with the city directories prior to 48 and see who lived in the house, who owned it. We can check in the tax books to see who owned it, to probably determine more or less when it was built. So those kind of things take longer. Yes.
What is the balance of time you spend on different things? Most of your time on research, most of the time shuffling records, most of the time digitizing, or is it like even, pretty much all of those things?
We all have 3 weekly tasks that we rotate throughout the week. Samantha is indexing, flattening, foldering, putting in Hollinger boxes, the old commission records. She's like in the 1930s now. She is also doing a microfilm inventory, which is how we discovered that we may have some bad microfilm. It smells like vinegar. That's a very bad sign. I forgot what her other task is. So we all have 3 tasks. We do digitization, we do box shuffling. A lot of the boxes are only partially full, so we're consolidating to save space. I don't do near as much research as I would like. We're also, our other thing, we're doing an inventory assessment. Right now I'm working on the recorder. We're taking every office, seeing what we have, making sure it has its accession number on it, the retention. Do we need to keep it? Can we get rid of it? And trying to get each office in more or less the same location in the archives, which is difficult to do because It's been kind of a hodgepodge because in years past, things would just come in so quickly, and they would have to put them wherever they could. It's a task. Questions?
Knowing what you know about the past, what are some of the things that we can do today to help the past for us?
As far as the archives,
Yeah,
don't put in one box things that have multiple retentions. Call us, we'll help you sort it out before they ever come down. And we will supply you with boxes, whether you need the cubic foot boxes or Hollingers, we can do that. Because right now we have Samantha's going through a couple of boxes that came from our office a number of years ago. Like, what is this? Do we need to keep it? Because you don't know. You don't know. But we can help you with that. And we will be glad to. Questions, comments? Yes. Mhm. That would be a question for Oscar. Oscar? Thank you. They're the ones who determine that. That's a separate retention schedule than the one we use for county records from all the other offices. That's a separate retention schedule.
I guess someone could go for it to try and get it.
There are people who can access those records.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think that happens with adoption cases more than it would with the other juvenile records. Yeah.
I've
Yes.
got one last maybe tie-up question for you. Every time you come here, I'm amazed at what you guys do with some of the resources, manpower, employee power, I shouldn't mention that, but what can we do as offices over here in this building when we have a little bit of either extra time for somebody? Would it be beneficial if we sent 2 people down for half a day? Is there, entry work that they could do, shuffle work that they could do?
Oh, sure.
Supplies, money that you need? I mean, what is your biggest want when it comes to
Oh, gosh,
what
my
you're
biggest want.
undersupplied or underfunded?
My biggest want. Well, I have a list of wants. We would like a big sign out front, a second floor to host events. Yeah, those are big ones.
Okay.
Before that, redo the entire research area, which is why we're getting new bookshelves. We would like to get new tables. We already have new chairs, the ones that someone was giving away a while back, someone in the county. We have a lot of binders on the shelves instead of the actual books. I'd like to get rid of the binders. Those are cosmetic things. As far as actual art, we're doing a lot of what we call foldering with those 1800s court cases. It will be years before all that is ever done. And if you'd like to come down sometime, I'll show you how many more we have to go. So that is an ongoing project. That and probably scanning the probate. Some of the work doing both.
And I'll speak for us in the assessor's department. We have a room. It's not a huge room, but it can accommodate 15 to 20 people. If you ever need it, just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Reserve that.
Okay, thank you.
It's got
Good to know.
video conference capabilities as well,
Okay.
so if you-
Okay. Yes.
Did you ever use people like you need to help us scan or like see the 3D projects?
use someone to scan if they can stand. Mhm. Yes, they would have to, we would teach them how to keep everything in proper order, how to clean the records before we scan them. Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. Eventually, we'll have more records that need to be flattened, but right now we have a certain section flattened, and I don't want to flatten anymore until those are foldered, because that would make it harder to find those if we need them for a customer.